Hello and welcome to another career section of PostdocTransformation for the National Postdoc Appreciation Week. I'm your host, alumna Soei-Winkels, and I'm really pleased to see you here. Maybe you've been here for the second and the first sessions as well, so this is my third of 5 sessions. This one is about how to use social media to boost your career transition into business. All right, so without further ado, I would assume that since you have found me probably through LinkedIn and also Instagram or TikTok, maybe you are already using either one of them. And the question really is whether you are intentionally using them in favor of your, maybe, of your future career identity, your professional identity, right? So if you are a postdoc contemplating about leaping out of science, then you have probably a strong scientist professional identity. Okay, it's to identify with everything that is, important in science, academia, research. Maybe this is something that you have known all your adult life, so since bachelor, master, PhD, and also postdoc. So this is where you have been socialized. But at the end of the day, if you want to leap into business, then the most important thing is to be able to relate to the people who are working in business, because you want to know whether a certain company, a certain industry is interesting for you, so whether that attracts you in terms of how they behave and stuff like that, but also you want to convince the potential business leaders or recruiters about you. And that's why the social part of social media is so important. So without further ado, let's dive in. All right, so if you're not using social media as intentional as I will lay out soon, then you probably are not using it well. That means it could be a time killer. So sometimes I often say to my students, I'm not sure whether I should tell you that I'm also on Instagram and TikTok, because I know that if you're not there, you probably get addicted to that and not using your time wisely. But instead, if you're using it wisely, then it's not a time killer. Okay, but the thing is, the internet, especially social media, does not forget. Well, we all know that the shelf life of content and comments and something like that in Instagram or TikTok is maybe shorter than in the law-based, in Google, essentially. But instead, it's still something that you can dig out if you want, right? So if I'm looking for your name and I'll find a lot of things in the social media sphere, then it's probably something that I will find if I'm looking intentionally. And that's why you should always bear in mind that social media is also the internet, and all that, therefore it doesn't forget as well. And sometimes I'm a little bit concerned when I see my students. I'm not stalking them, but some of them are have public handles, and then I'm a little bit concerned that maybe they self-sabotage, or they are not even knowing that they're sabotaging their own career perspective, so to speak. Okay, so that is something that you should question yourself, whether your activities on social media are really, have a negative trend on your career prospects. On the other hand, if you're using it well, intentionally, strategically, to support your career to business, well, that's your ticket, right? Then it's a huge time saver, because with interesting content that you are following, you have more insights that can inform you how you should, create your cover letter, your motivational letter, your motivation statement, your CV, maybe also, as you know, which are the key points that they are keywords they are looking for, something like that, or you get to know whether they are using, or they're having certain challenges, business challenges. So that's something like I would consider as a time saver, because you get in social media information that you wouldn't get otherwise. And the other thing is, you can also showcase your transferable skills, and that is something, if you have, skills that you could also use and monetize outside of a lab. And I have alluded to it earlier in my first session for National Postdoc Appreciation. So I will link to that in the video so that you can go back to my first one. That was 2 days ago. It's an hour full pack of 15 points or 15 factors that you need to attend to when you are checking your readiness to leave. All right, so I'll link that. And the other thing is these transferable skills, so that these skills that you can use outside of the lab because they are monetizable as well in a different setting. These you can show with your activity on social media, especially on the right platform, right? Okay, so in all that being said, you can then boost your future career, right? Because you can show by being committed to create a new professional identity to someone who could be recruiting you. You are showing them that you are really invested, because it takes time to create a new professional identity. And if you're willing to do the work and to invest and learn how to become that person, that is something that is already work that they don't have to do on their side if they decide to hire you. Because onboarding to the new culture, onboarding to the new company, onboarding to the new task is something that is really costly. That's really cost intensive. And if I, as a recruiter, from the perspective of a recruiter, if I have the feeling that, that person really fits well into the company and she already knows how to use the business lingo and she already knows how to, whatever is important in that position, then it's already, when they're already thinking how you fit into their team, that's already gold. You've probably already won to be on the short list, and also maybe you've already won the goal. All right, so that's what I'm telling you. It could be boosting your career, your future career. Okay. So the other thing is your target group. All right, so you have to think about your target group. Who is that? Who do you want to convince about yourself? I mean, you're not a business, you're not selling a product or a service. But on the other hand, maybe you are, because you are actually selling your work in the sense of your, all your time that you would invest in working for them, part of your 24 hours, that's your investment, and they want to see whether you will be the great fit that you maybe tell them, but they want to see that beforehand, before they are hiring you. So this is why it's important to know who are the people and where are they, right? Because you could be selling, your work, all your skills to the wrong person and they wouldn't buy, right? So you have to find the right place. And that's essentially, if we mean business, we mean LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn means business. When we mean business, it's probably the case that this company is in LinkedIn. So if you are watching this from Germany, because I am from Germany and half of my community is probably from Germany, then obviously people think that what's about Sing? Well, I would always say that all the big corporates, the ones who are working globally, are probably more than LinkedIn. If you're looking for a mid-sized company to switch your career from science to a small medium company, then maybe in Germany, then Sing will be okay. But I think that all of these are also in LinkedIn. So you want to invest your time once and not at 2 platforms, then you should go to LinkedIn, because LinkedIn nowadays is English and German as well. Okay, so, and also international use. So, your potential leaders, colleagues, and also hiring managers, recruiters are probably there. And they all have their own different agenda, right? So maybe they're supposed to be corporate influencers. Maybe they should be the first corporate influencer in their company, so the CEO. And it's expected from them, and they're also supported. And in my last session, so yesterday's session, I talked about how professionally managed these profiles could be. but you are looking for the most authentic ways when they are commenting and liking and something like that, because you probably will see polished posts, which could be questionable, whether that's the PR agency, the communications, the team that has prepared this, especially if the Canva, if the picture is really great. But when they're commenting, that's probably their own voice. And you then see if you like that or not, whether you can relate, whether you can picture yourself working for that company, for that person, and in that team. Okay, so they are more or less active there, because what I'm telling you is probably something also new to you. Only 10% or less of the people in LinkedIn actually do posts. The rest, the vast majority, is actually silent and just reading posts. Okay, so I'm not even sure whether they are reading intentionally and strategically. And I want you, as postdocs or even PhDs who are thinking about continuing in academia or not, and maybe also leaving out of science, if you are that target group, I just want to let you know you don't have time to lose. You are probably older than the master students, which I happen to have also, because I'm a professor of structural and application psychology at an applied university in Germany. So I know my students, and they're much younger, and they're probably also much more, shapeable, so to speak, because they're younger. So they tend to have the goal when a PhD student competes with a master student, they probably will take the master student because they think that person is probably cheaper and also younger, more shapeable, and less hassle to lead. So you don't have time to lose, especially if you're a woman contemplating about family and stuff like that. You want to hit the ground running, and that's why you need social media to boost your transition and to make the right impression. The first impression is important. Okay, so and that's why you can stand out. You can be active there from the get-go and then stand out. Okay, your profiles usually get a boost by the LinkedIn algorithm, so use that boost to make a difference for yourself in your future. Okay, so if you want to impress potential leaders in business, potential colleagues obviously, and also hiring managers, then please consider their situation, not yours. Maybe you are a heavy user of TikTok, of Instagram, and whatnot, and you probably agree with me that sometimes LinkedIn is a little bit boring, because to be honest, most of them are boomers. Okay, so most of them are boomers and working in corporates, and that makes, let's put it this way. I think that my Instagram and TikTok community is much more diverse, close to the reality, instead of my very homogeneous LinkedIn community. Okay, which is not bad in the sense that it doesn't mirror, because I think it does mirror the situation in corporates. The higher the career ladder, you would see the person to be white and also male and also old. Okay, so that's the population you will find there. And they don't like Instagram. They don't even have an Instagram handle. They don't have TikTok. Maybe they're using Twitter, but certainly they don't have Facebook, or they think that's something for the kids. Okay, so you cannot talk to them via your posts in your comments and something that you can't use the same culture like in the other social media platform. It's totally different. And you should think instead, you should think, why are they on the platform in the first place? And they're there for the business. They are there to network with the right people, to get insights, to get shortcuts. They're not so much about building, it's not about emotional, fluffy content that, heartwarming, something that is straight to the point, cut to the chase, what's the business, and how can I help? How can you help? And it's always something, it's a give and take. So it's not a problem to I mean, sometimes people are maybe, surprised about the business stuff that is coming in the feed or also in direct messages. But you have to be aware, or you have to take it into consideration that this is a business platform. They're only there for that reason. They're not there to socialize. They're there to be innocent. All right. So if you have found already value in what I have shared with you, please like it or subscribe to my channel, because there are 2 more sessions to come, and I also plan to double down on YouTube and on podcasting. So long form content will be coming, and it would mean a lot to me if you would be also, reinforcing and telling YouTube that you do like my content. If you want to comment, use the form that I have linked to in the show notes of YouTube, or description, I shall say, because then on my NPOP overview session page on PostdocTransformation, you can also find this, the form where you can submit all your specific career-related questions, so that I can answer that after this session as well. Okay? But if you like, you can also comment. I'll look into the comments more every now and then. So without further ado, second part of this talk, if your company or your preferred company is also on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, then if I were you, I would also look into my handles, the private handles that you have on the other social platforms, because chances are really big that recruiters, at least, and social media managers not so much, but the recruiters, if they're interested in your CV, and you'll be moving from the long list to the short list, then they will be looking also into all your social media, and whether that is giving them the impression that they want you to be on that team or not. And that's why I would, in your case, look into your own handles and see whether your page really depicts you in as your future professional identity, or whether it doesn't. And usually recruiters probably are the ones who, they scroll down, but they can't spend so much time on you, right? On you as one candidate. So if you make sure that, the feed looks fine, and you delete everything that that could be already void if you are lucky, okay? So I would do that before I would apply, obviously. Good. And then what you want going forward, in the sense of, if you want to leave out of science by the end of your postdoc contract, that is probably not tomorrow or not next month, ideally, or if you want to leave out of academia after your PhD graduation, that is obviously probably also hopefully in your third year, right? So towards your final year, you can be already investing time to make all your social media activities coherent. Okay? It doesn't grow over time. It doesn't grow overnight. It does take time. Okay? So your input, first factor that feeds sort of the algorithm. Your input is what you consume, what you like, what you watch. You don't even have to type in, I like it, I want to see more of that. It's your eyeballs, your watch time on a certain thing, and then all the algorithms will usually, serve you in your feed whatever the algorithm thinks is appropriate for you or suitable for you, what you would like. And then with your eyeballs, again, you decide what you want to see in your feed in the future. That's the same in Instagram and TikTok, but also in LinkedIn. And so you want to be thoughtful and intentional on who you follow and which groups you are following, right? So, like I said in my yesterday's career session, think about who you want to lead or who you want to have as a thought leader or a corporate influencer or a community builder in your contact list, or at least that you do follow, okay? Because following is a less not such a tough decision to ask a cold contact whether they can be your contact or not. So following is something like a nice step before that. So all of that determines your feed. And also you should consider which are your future industries. And I have a thumb rule. I always share with my own students what's the future of work, which are the industries that are going to be thriving in the next 10 or 20 years. Because what I want you to do, it's not so urgent in my perspective, it's not so urgent for a bachelor and master students to find the right company, something like that. It's expected that they change anyway. But for the PhD student or the postdoc that is already a little bit more mature, it is expected that the next step, the leap out of science, is well thought, is well reflected. It shouldn't be out of the wind. It shouldn't be something, today I don't like my PhD, my postdoc anymore, and tomorrow I will do something else. But instead, you are expected to clarify why do you want to start with us. When your CV has never, screamed business or our company's name or whatever, right? So you have to have a great story behind that. And that story, you can fill in with the information that you find in social media based on who you follow in your preferred future industry. Okay, find role models, follow them, find relevant groups, and also companies that are probably interesting. So maybe you're saying you're interested in consulting. So there are a couple of consulting companies, right? So McKinsey, BCG, PricewaterhouseCoopers, Accenture, something like that. And you know that I've been working at Accenture, so I know all of the consulting companies have their distinct focus and also a distinct corporate culture. But nevertheless, they're all very similar as compared to corporate banking, corporate discounters, corporate whatever, logistics suppliers or whatever, right? So there are some patterns that you can discern via social media and then decide whether you want to work there or not. All right. Then there is this other part of that, so the other side of the medal, so to speak. So one was the input, the next one is the output, obviously. So this is where you are going out of your passive comfort zone, and you have to become visible and audible via social media. Likes, first likes, then comments, then content. Okay, so content is the king or queen's trump. Instead, you should probably start with liking, because with liking, you're already setting some turning points into your feed so that you like this instead of just this. So you get some more refinement in your feed. So what you like, comment, and post determines, again, your future professional identity, because the content can inform how you behave, how you act, how you post. And what you post, and maybe that's a video or just your writing, that tells the potential recruiter, the business leader, also your colleagues, whether you are already using the language that they understand, that they appreciate, and something like that. So, are you one of them or not? Do they want you to be in their team or not? So, how can you, attract their attention? Right? So before you can convince someone, you have to have them in your vicinity, right? You cannot just go there and say, hire me. Why? And before you do that, you should actually court them. Okay? So that's like having a date. You're not telling them, you want to marry me? I don't know. Who are you? Right? So that's something you should think about. Like, how can you make a good impression by serving them? Okay, so to your key people, you should add value by obviously liking is great for them. That way their post gets, somewhere else in a bigger vicinity as well. And also commenting something beneficial for them that makes them look good, obviously, right? Which is beneficial for them and their followers, right? That is something that no one else has commented, but it will put a different spin on that, and that makes the whole conversation really a social conversation on eye level, because you are adding value onto that. And if that value is actually coming from your own perspective and experience as a postdoc, that's gold. Okay? So ask the right questions, ask smart questions. You probably know. I mean, it's like when you are talking to your students in your lecture and they're asking, simple questions or challenging questions, or questions where they show that they have grasped the concept and they can think further. That's the kind of question that you want to ask without the academic legal, obviously. Okay, so what you also have to bear in mind, do not steal their show, right? So they're posting for a reason, right? They want to have attention. So if you divert their audience's attention to your own whatever, then that's probably not a good idea. Okay, so that's impolite, and you don't want to be impolite, also not on social media. Okay, good. All right, that's the second part of this talk. So if you have any questions, please use this type form I've been thinking of or showing you on my slides, in the sense of go to my website, Google my company's name, PostdocTransformation, go to that website, and there's a top right banner so that you can, maybe I'll also share that in my comments. So maybe if you want to submit your specific career questions, then please go to my website. There's the top white banner. Click on that because it says National Postdoc Appreciation Week. This is today and until Friday. And you can see all my 5 sessions. So everyone has a YouTube link. Either it's inactive because it hasn't happened yet, or it's previously recorded, like as of yesterday, for example, session that you can then watch and ask me questions after that, because the question form will be active 24/7, 365 days, so that I can answer whenever my time allows. And I'll be happy to answer them. All right, so third part of this session is you should showcase your future idea, your future identity, right? Because if you don't do this, I mean, in this day and age, if you're not using social media, that is suspicious. I just talked about it with a couple of people in my business community. I mean, even if you're not active in the sense of posting, you should at least have a feed of likes, so that whenever someone new contacts me in LinkedIn and has no introduction, which is, I don't know why wouldn't someone introduce himself or herself before contacting me? I wouldn't even look at their profile. But if they are introducing themselves, and that I think beneficial, maybe it's beneficial, maybe it's interesting, then I look at their profile and look at what did they like, where did they put the thumbs up or like, and what did they comment. And if that is something where I say we have common interests, beneficial interests for both, or mutual interests, then I would be inclined to accept the contact request, right? And I think that I'm not the only one who's doing that, and that's why you should be there. If you are a blank slate, that's also very suspicious. That's why I'm telling my own students from the get-go, first semester bachelor, same as first semester master, if I haven't known that before, start with your LinkedIn profile. It's not so much important that you have 10,000 followers in Instagram, you've got 2,000 or whatever. It's much more important to be active in LinkedIn if you want to pursue a professional career as an employee. If you want to become an entrepreneur, that's different, because you have to be active on that platform where your potential clients are. That's different. Okay, so if you are hesitant and afraid of, social media, because you now have the feeling of, wow, that's a little bit overwhelming. If I do this, then it's wrong. If I don't do this, then it's also wrong, whatever. So the thing is, you have to start, and it's best if you are starting as a postdoc as soon as possible. Okay, so as soon as possible, because if you haven't done this before, then you have no time to lose. It's like I said, I already shared that with my own bachelor and master students. So it prevents your own learning curve if you start too late. Okay, so whatever you're late or not, start today so that you can, make up that time that you haven't invested yet, and be very intentional on that. And if you want to have support on that, I have a free email course where I talk about what to do and what not, more actionable than this session right away. So use that email course. That's a free email course for postdocs, and that's how you can create opportunities for yourself to be visible and audible, so that you're not just waiting for the next job ad that maybe will be shown to you somewhere so that you can, apply to that job. Because that's not how jobs are only given to you. Usually it's more about networking, knowing the right people. Someone in their team will go in a couple of months. They will ask their peers in business, do you know someone? And that someone could know someone who knows you, and then you're on the game, right? So it's a totally different game if you can do the social media stuff. Instead, you're not doing that. You have to look into the job boards and find a job that is probably already, you're probably not the first to apply, and you're probably not the only one to apply. But if you can use your networking for boosting your career, because you've been already showing in social media that you are the right fit for the company, that's probably the boost that you will need as a postdoc. All right, so one other thing that I want to mention is that your professional identity may feel awkward to you. And I also recall it's like my nephew who has never been wearing a suit, right? So for his community, like I don't know what it's called in English, but we are Catholics, so I really. So the first time a boy or a girl will wear something white and a suit, right? So if they are never been used to that, that's really funny, because then they have a fly, they have a tie, and they have suddenly something that they're not wearing usually every day. So, and that's something like the professional identity for someone who's been, when I was in science, I wore Doc Martens, I had my lab coat, I wore my everyday jeans every day. And I really had, I don't know, I was also colorful, but probably not to my best. I don't know. So I think you get the picture. But instead, in business, obviously, you have to make a professional impression. That means you probably have to wear different types of things. And it may have changed over time, but still it's classy, right? So it's not something that you wear for one day and feel comfortable in. And that's the same with a professional identity. You need to be aware, and you need to become familiar with that professional identity, because that's something that you will now always, this is how you want to be seen. This is how others ideally see you and approach you. And if you don't feel comfortable as such a person, then probably you're in the wrong place. And that's why you should acquaint yourself with that new professional identity to see whether you like it or not. Because if you don't like it, then don't go there, right? But do try this and test this, especially easily via social media, because I think that you can pretend to be someone else and to see how others will react much more easier than if you're now going to your lab at university, suddenly you're wearing business stuff and it will be looking awkward, right? So when I leaped out of science after my PhD in neuroscience, 2008, during the financial crisis, and I wanted to earn money, a lot of money, so I went out and got into IT. When I did that, I didn't try my new persona, my new professional identity with the peers of my PhD graduate class, right? So it would have felt a little bit awkward. And that's why I'm saying that social media is a space where you don't see the people really, and that's why it's much more easier to, venture into that new professional identity. All right, and what you can do, I'm offering you a bridge here. Maybe you think that you don't want to just leave and throw away the whole scientist persona professional identity. Instead, you might be thinking of how can you remix or fusion your past experience and expertise into your new role. All right, so a remix or a fusion is something innovative. Nothing else compared to before or the new ones, but it's completely it's completely different and still you. So maybe that's the picture that you should think of when you're thinking, you're leaping, but you're not leaving yourself behind. It's a new professional identity with parts of your old life that you decide intentionally, strategically to take along with you. And that was correct English. All right, so, and as a postdoc, you are probably someone who is a thought leader, right? Because the next step is the professor, and the professor is the thought leader. And if you have been already a principal investigator, if you've been a junior leader of the team, research team, whatever, then you are a thought leader. And to be honest, the people I've met in business, it's not so much intellectually challenging, but instead it's more the business challenges are not intellectually challenging, but instead they are more challenging on a daily operational basis with many diverse people, with many competing and competing. It's a trilemma, dilemma, tetralemma. So it really is impossible to serve everyone, and that's not an intellectual challenge, but instead it's more a social, empathetic challenge, communications challenge, people leadership challenge. And that's why you should also use that capability that you have built out in science and academia. I mean, we all know that professors are probably difficult leaders as well. So if you are also thriving with limited budgets, that's also a great transferable skill to still make a difference in science, even despite the fact that, your hands were constrained with the old technique or whatever, without the right equipment, where you have to, at the forefront of something, the unknown, you still managed to grab whatever was available to you and make the best out of that. And I think that this kind of attitude, the scientific, empirical attitude, is something that will suit you well also in business. And that's why you should take the role also as a thought leader from science into business and fill it out with the content that you have analyzed to be beneficial for your business people, for your new business people, okay? So it all has to be in the language and targeted for them, not for you, for them. Then you can make a difference. And the most important thing here is to be in a rhythm, right? So it will be an investment, it will be a learning curve, and you will probably be frustrated in the couple of first times when you have been liking something the first time, commenting the first time. You will get a comment back, you don't know how to understand that, you don't want to comment anymore, you post, no one likes that, no one reads that, no one comments, something like that. So you will have a couple of fallbacks, but you still have a learning curve to make, and that's why you should be consistent in your posting or liking or reading, at least reading schedule regarding your feed in LinkedIn, for example. So I would make it a point in the sense of every morning or every second morning, I want to start my day with reading, opening my LinkedIn app, and reading in my feed. Do you like that feed? Are you following the right people? Are you following the right groups? Adjust that. Next time, your feed should look better, more interesting, more relevant to you. Okay? Do that for a couple of weeks. Then do start to like. Become visible by likes at least. The same applies here, a couple of weeks. Then you start to comment. A couple of weeks. Then you start to post. Posting will take you much longer than all the previous steps. So you have to bear that in mind. And as a comparison, people in business, they usually use social media as part of their job. Social media is a part of their job. That's how they maintain key relationships. That's how they maintain client relationships. That's how they get leads, potential customers. That's why they have to be in there. And that's why you should be also there. Because if you want to become someone employed in business, you will have to be part of a service or a product, and that needs to be sold. And that means you need to know the market. And that's why you are in LinkedIn, to be in the market with the people who are part of the market. All right, so if you know how much time you should invest beforehand, you can make time in your own research or daily schedule. I'm not saying that it should be in the time where you do and run your experience or you have your lectures or something like that. But for example, if you're having lectures, then maybe the time in your breaks shouldn't be the time where you do nothing, but instead in that 15-10 minute break, maybe half an hour break, I don't know, you can use your LinkedIn app and browse. If that happens to be twice a week, that's fair enough, right? Do the adjustments, as I said, and that's already time that you have invested in focus intentionally. And sustain consistency in the long run, right? If you've been intentional from the get-go, it's easier to adhere to that schedule. If you are, looking into that app, and then a month later you'll be looking into it again for the second time, it probably will be so much overwhelming that it's boring, and everyone just shouts out, I'm great, I don't know, and you won't find the nuggets that are really worth sharing. I can really tell you my feed is well curated because I am following the right people who are interesting for me or for my students. I'm active on LinkedIn as a professor of industrial and occupational psychology because I know where I have some blind spots. I don't have the experience in A, B, and C, And that's why I have the right people, I follow the right people, I connect with them, so they serve me information that I can then recommend to my own students, because I know they are the right people, they are the good sources, I can share them without ever even hesitating. And I'm creating value for them. My sources make me look good, and I didn't have to spend time to find that. I'm not the gold digger here. I'm just the, I just, how do I say that? I just curate, okay? And that's already content. If I'm commenting wisely, that's already content. I do post as well, but this is because I am also, I like to post, I have a voice, and I also have a business. So do not compare yourself with me. One is, I'm a professor since 2014, so there's a lot that can be learned on that learning curve, and if you're still at square zero, then do what I have just shared with you and you'll be fine. You'll be doing much more than all the other PhD students and candidates and postdocs who haven't heard this talk, right? All right, good. So, and if for those of you who have already followed my first and second career session for National Postdoc Appreciation Week, Postdoc Transformation, you will see this slide again. But if you're new, then let me tell you, all of this will take a long time. It doesn't grow just by, now I want to leave, now I know how to do this, and now I will be doing social media the way I should do. But instead, you should at least plan your career leave 6 to 9, even better, 12 months ahead. And if you need actionable advice for free, you could also sign up for my email course, which I think I share here. So you will get over the course of 10 months at the most, or you can binge the emails if you don't have time. You can then get these emails, which will help you with actionable items on your start to start your job in business. And if you see all these 10 emails, they've been already laid out for you. You should just sign up and you will get them straight if you binge them, or you will get them in a 4 weeks schedule. And one is how to leave out of science. Then 2 or 3 are the points that we have discussed today. How to build your sustainable LinkedIn profile, and how to read and understand social media and the network. And then number 4 and 5, I think they are also interesting for you, because you probably don't know all the big players that are relevant for you in your career transition. But instead, you should do your research. And how can you find your favorite employers? That's how I share. And you can do information interviews. And in that, if you have been in my last session, in that email, I have also linked directly to the interview with Dr. Gertrude Mantra, where we have a role play on information interviews. So that's a 1-hour live session on Instagram. It's hard to find on Instagram. I don't know why it's so hard to find, but I have linked that in there, because then you can see us pretending to be interviewer and interviewee, right? So, and then I think the number 6 is really great, because you can then see how you should create your customized applications, and also how to apply and choose the right offer. And well, if everything goes right, you'll be able to land a job after these 6 to 9, 12 months at the latest, hopefully, and you can decide where you start and how to prepare for your new job. I share as an actionable item as well. Good. Let's see. What else? And if you're thinking, then why am I sharing this for free? Because I'm an IT strategy consultant. I was one at Accenture, and that's an American company, an American management consultancy tech company as well. So I learned there how to use digital tools to leverage and to be cost sensitive. Okay, so I can share my knowledge via this email course, so that I reach many PhD students and also postdocs. So you feel free to share that, so that as many early career scientists can benefit from that. But all my work is being powered and paid by graduate schools, who then get access to my e-courses, which are much more deep dive and also, very detailed, where I share tasks for reflections as a psychologist, because remember, I'm a psychologist by training. And I share also live workshops, 5-hour workshops, but also I have a membership where we meet monthly for 2 hours on Zoom or other video conference systems, so that their PhD students can then ask me and show me their CVs, their application, and we can role play the interview and how they should negotiate their work contract and something like that. So if you have a graduate school, if you still have a graduate school or still associated to that, please feel free to ask them to, book my services. But if you don't have a graduate school anymore, if you don't want to ask them, then this free email course is really great. And I also have another email course, which I'm actually really proud of, is the second one is here in the banner, how to juggle parenthood and career in academia or not, because I'm a mom of 2. My kids are 5-year-old and 8-year-old, and I was appointed as a professor being pregnant with my first kid. Remember I said 2014? Yes, that was a tough year for me, and I would love to share all my psychological knowledge and how to cope with that with you also in an email course. So if you're interested in that, sign up for the email course. You will find all that on my website, and if not, just drop me an email on all social media channels that I have mentioned. So I'm also on Instagram, TikTok, and so on. Just go to my website and you'll find all the handles to be clickable. All right, good. If you have other questions, I'll check my comments, and if you don't have one, I'll just finish now, because I think we should be short and sweet. See you tomorrow for the next session. Bye-bye.